said to me that the vast majority of people also have no idea what they're talking about. So I really don't have all that much energy to devote to trying to get myself educated on the situation so I can speak about it coherently, because I don't have that kind of time. I just don't have the time for it. I have a truck to drive, I've got freight to move. That is, I'm doing my part. I've got a truck to drive, I'm moving freight. You know, I'm hauling actually non-hazardous liquid fertilizer right now, because it is planting season, and that means farmers are getting ready to get in the fields, and I am doing my level best to haul this material so that it can end up in some sprayers in the next week or 2 or 3. We can have a nice nice harvest in the fall if all goes well. And that's really all I can do, is just do my part. Just keep the freight moving, keep the truck rolling, do it safely, do it well. But I've got my feet in some different echo chambers, and they are thunderous with the noise levels they're making about opinions favoring and opposing what President Trump is doing. I, for one, hope things work out the way he hopes they do, which is a net benefit, not just for the U.S. economy, the U.S. job market, and U.S. small, medium, and even large businesses. I hope also that there are some real benefits for the European economy, some of the Asian economies. I really would like to see China be forced to play by the rules, because the gentleman who goes by Mr. Wonderful, better known as Kevin O'Leary, the Shark Tank guy, he put out a tweet yesterday, or day before last, whatever, basically saying, look, you need tariffs to go up to 400% on China to force these guys to play by the rules. Because they don't play by the rules, they steal intellectual property. You can't litigate it in Chinese courts because you just don't have a leg to stand on over there. So yeah, we need to get these guys to play by the rules, and you need tariffs that are so huge that they just can't do business. Essentially, that's what I'm taking away. I am paraphrasing mightily, and I'm taking his words probably out of context. Go look at his tweet, go read it for yourself, assess it for yourself, do whatever. That's my takeaway. He's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever. The man's wealthy. He makes more money in a year than I'll probably end up making my entire trucking career unless I end up owning a bunch of trucks and my business explodes. You know, he makes more money in a month than I do in a decade, probably. You know, it's just, we are not on the same level. The only similarities that we have is that we're both American and we both own businesses. That's it. Other than that, we are not the same. But anyway, you know, it's the bleed through that this is happening, this is causing, it's dovetailing very unfortunately with some doldrums in the freight market. I mean, some of the Midwest lanes that were reliably, you know, over $2 a mile, those are now under $2 a mile. And, you know, some different things, some different lanes that used to be, you know, okay if you were desperate. Now they're downright terrible when it comes to the rate per mile, or, you know, down to about $1.50 or less. I mean, I have no idea who is taking loads from, you know, the Midwest to California, but whoever you are getting the shaft. And I saw a load yesterday going from, I want to say it was somewhere in the Quad Cities region of Iowa, Illinois, going from there, I think it might have been Davenport, maybe Cedar Rapids. It's not the Quad Cities, but it was in that region, you know, eastern Iowa, western Illinois, going from there out to California, and it was paying like $1.17 a mile. And I was like, who is taking that freight? What idiot is taking $1.17 a mile to drive, you know, 2,200 miles? Like, are you stupid? I mean, I get it. Yeah, folks live in California and they got to get back home to California. I understand that. But good Lord above, if you can't handle that return rate, don't move east of the Rockies. Stay where we're at until we can actually sit back and look at the data for a good couple of months, I think, and really say, oh yeah, here is this, and here is that, and that is this, and this is that, and now here we are. Because things are just way too volatile right now, and there's really no way to really, in my opinion, my uneducated opinion, there's really no way to say, yeah, this is happening this way, and it's going to have this result, because folks have been saying that for days and weeks, and we still haven't suffered an economic collapse. So maybe I'll be eating my words here over the weekend. I have no idea. Maybe I'll end up being, way too optimistic. Maybe I'll end up being nowhere near optimistic enough. We won't know until we know. But anyway, I hope you have a great Friday wherever